We're going to help you get started and set up with a Cura profile for your Mantis. Today we're going to take a look at Cura. The version that I'm going to be using is 4.11. I've also done this process on 4.8 and 4.9. If you're using an earlier version of Cura, by now you might want to update, completely up to you, but some of the steps in the process might be a little bit different than the ones that I show you on the video. But enough said, let's go ahead and get started and take a look at Cura. I almost forgot one thing before we get started. All right, let's go. The version of Cura that I'm going to use for this demonstration is 4.11, which is currently the most recent version of Cura. It's also a version of Cura that I just downloaded and have never used before, so if we run into any unforeseen issues, let's see how it goes. But it should be pretty straightforward. The version I was using before this was 4.8, and everything worked great on it, so I don't expect there to be too many problems. So alright, this would be you downloading Cura for the very first time. You're going to see the Get Started screen. We're going to go ahead and click on that. We will accept. And next. And skip. Or you could always create a Cura account if you want to, but you can skip it. What we're going to do now is click on Add a Non-Networked Printer. And then we are going to scroll down on this screen until you can click on Custom. When you click on Custom, it pops up to the top here, and we are going to make sure that Custom FFF Printer is selected. We're then going to modify the name of that printer to be Mantis, or honestly whatever you'd like it to be, but for my purposes we'll choose Mantis. And then click Next. On this screen, we are going to make some changes. The first changes that we are going to make is that the X, Y, and Z values are all going to change to 200. The build plate shape is rectangular. We are going to skip origin at center, and we are going to click heated bed. Going to skip heated build volume, and the G-code flavor is indeed Marlin, so that's perfectly okay. We are then going to select all of the start G-code and delete it. We are going to select all of the end G-code, and we are going to delete that as well. And go ahead and click on those boxes and scroll up and down again to make sure you didn't miss any. Now, what we are going to put in the start G-code is the following 3 lines. You have to type these exactly the same way that I'm typing them now, but you can always come back and reference this part of the video if you get confused, or if you just need to take a look at something else for a moment. So we're going to type in G92 space E0 and hit enter, and then we're going to type G1 space E100 and hit enter. And finally, we are going to type G92 space Z. And at this point, you're going to look at the back of your printer. You're going to take the value for the Z offset that's located on the sticker on the back of your printer, and that's the value that we're going to enter here, except we're going to flip the value from being negative to positive. If that sounds confusing, I'll show you exactly what I mean. On the printer that we are going to use as our sample printer here, let's pretend that the Z offset, which I located on the sticker that's on the back of my printer, is a negative 1.5. Next to that Z, I am going to type in 1.5. Forget the negative sign. We need to flip that value to make it positive. So I will type in 1.5. And now the computer will know that that is actually equivalent to a negative 1.5, so the values are identical to what it is on the back of your printer. I could go into the details of why that's actually true, but it's probably more boring than it's worth going over right now. Just trust me on it. Flip it from a negative to a positive, and you'll be all set. In the right column, all of these values are completely fine. We are going to leave the end G-code blank, and we are going to click on Extruder 1, which is the second tab in Machine Settings. The only value that you will be adjusting on this is the compatible material diameter. So you can select that and type in 1.75, which is the diameter of the filament that the Mantis prints with. Then we will click Next, and 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 Next. And then finally click Finish. On this screen, we have to make 2 more adjustments and then we are good to go. So you're going to click in the upper right-hand corner, and now you're pulling down certain profiles. We are going to click on Custom, and now this profile will currently be set to print at a fine setting, which is 0.1 millimeters. If you want to adjust that, you certainly can. You will just change it to any one of those settings right there. Given the size of the nozzle, which is 0.4 millimeters that comes with the Mantis, I would suggest that you print anywhere between fine to extra fast, but don't go outside those ranges. Extra fine, coarse, and extra coarse, although the print would complete, it wouldn't give you the exact look that you wanted for it. So generally speaking, anywhere from fine to extra fast should be okay. For our purposes, we'll go ahead and leave it on a draft setting. And now in the search settings bar, we are going to type in the word flow, F-L-O-W. And we're going to scroll to the section where it says material. And we are going to change this first value to the number that is on the back of your printer, where it says extrusion multiplier. What we're going to do is multiply that number by 100. So, although that might sound confusing, it's not. If we have a printer like our sample printer here, let's say that the extrusion multiplier value on the back of the printer is 1.35. If I multiply 1.35 times 100, I will get 135. That's the value that I'm going to put into the flow rate on the Cura settings. So 135, and it will automatically update the first 8 items there. And then in the 9th item, which is initial layer flow, we are going to, once again, just type in 135. Just to give you one more example, if your flow rate was a 1.12, if you multiplied that by 100, you would end up with 112, which is 112. So you would put 112 into the flow section. The last place that we are going to go is to temp. So right where you had written the word flow, we are going to write TEMP. And you're going to modify your printing temperature to be 205. And make sure it's not 2050. Make sure it is 205.0, my fault. And the initial printing temperature to 205. The final printing temperature to 205. And now that will be fine. The 60 and the 60 is accurate for our build plate temperature, so we don't need to make any adjustments to that. Then at that point, we can go ahead and exit out of print settings, and we are here in our Mantis ready to load an STL file and to do anything that we need to do. Alright, so for this section of the video, we swapped over to a Mac because for some reason it wouldn't record the screen on my Windows PC. But here we go. So the next thing that you're going to do is click on the Materials tab up in the top here. I believe that yours will say Generic PLA. And then you can click in the Custom screen on Material. And then you can click on Manage Materials. That'll go ahead and throw this pop-up there. What we can do is click Create. And it'll ask, I realize these settings are different than the ones that I just showed you in the first portion of the video, but what is going to appear here are all of the settings that we changed. The temp settings, the flow settings, they'll all be listed in this window here. If you click on Keep Changes, it'll bring you back here where you can now name your brand new custom material. So generally what I would do is Mantis. The brand of the PLA that comes with your printer is Overture. Material type is PLA. In color, we can choose something a little more Mantis-y. And you can leave generic as generic. The diameter is indeed 1.75. If it does say 2.85 on your screen, you're going to want to go ahead and switch that to 1.75. In addition, you can put in the filament cost. If, say, you had purchased a new roll of filament and you knew that it cost $22, you could put the $22 in there, and then anytime you slice a file in Cura, it will automatically generate a cost, an estimated cost on how much that's going to cost. All right, so I think that's about it. At this point, when you click Close, you'll then be able to keep your Overture generic PLA up here, and then your profile will have your flow and your temp settings and any of the other settings that you change, including the layer height, will all be locked to that profile. You could create multiple profiles if you wanted to do ones for certain layer heights, ones for certain speeds of printing. The options are pretty much endless. In this first video, we just wanted to cover getting you set up with kind of some basic approaches to be able to use Cura to print with your Mantis. But in the long run, we'll go ahead and post a few more videos to kind of do a bit more of a deep dive on some of the options that Cura's got, from tree supports to, I mean, the list is pretty much endless.